In today's world of market volatility and uncertainty, your retirement plans need to be front and center. With ever-changing tax laws, healthcare worries, and an unpredictable stock market, don't overlook the vulnerability in your retirement planning. Protecting your family and estate will be difficult with shifting policies in Washington. It's more important than ever to keep an eye on retirement.
Hi, and welcome into Eye on Retirement, the weekly show that keeps you in the know about all things retirement. I'm your host and financial advisor, Rick Everett, alongside our Market Advisory Group panel. And today we're talking about surprise expenses when it comes to retirement and how to avoid them. That's exactly why we've gathered a team of professionals for this episode. Today our panel includes Danny Goolsby, financial advisor and founding partner of Market Advisory Group; Joshua Cicora, CPA and tax advisor from Market Tax Services; Alex Robinson, estate planning attorney from Eidelman Law Firm; and Trey Bash, health insurance advisor from Market Medicare Advisors. Welcome in, everyone. Danny, what kinds of surprises or surprise expenses are you talking about in retirement?
So when it comes to retirement, there can be a lot of surprise expenses. And so you could have maybe some healthcare expenses that come out of the blue at you. You could have maybe some tax expenses that you weren't factoring into the equation. You could have a lot of different expenses come at you. However, to avoid these expenses that come at you, you need to be as prepared as possible. And to do that, most people think that they can budget their way through the surprise of that. So when it comes to budgeting, the reality is that most people have a hard time sticking to a budget. They feel like that they have their spending habits already ingrained in them. And frankly, as an advisor, I've seen both sides of this equation. I've seen where people who have been savers all their adult life and they're used to saving. They've maxed out their retirement plans. They're saving in retirement plans outside their employment. They're saving in their brokerage accounts. They're saving. They have monies at the bank. They have monies under the mattress. They're savers. They're used to saving. And when it comes to retirement, and so now they may have a sufficient amount of money saved during their adult life to that point, they have a hard time changing who they are, who they've been in their adult life. They've been savers to that point, and so to spend an excess at that point might be a hard thing for them to do. I've seen the other side of that equation as well. I've seen people who have a hard time saving, period. So these are the folks that always have a creative way of saying, you know, this expense came out of the blue at me. The transmission went out on the car. Johnny or Susie or my grandchildren, they may need braces or they may need help with their education, or I'm overdraft at the bank, or whatever that may be. They're always short, and they always find that there's more month than there is money. So as I said, as an investment advisor, I've seen both sides of that equation. They have a hard time, some of the second group, they have a hard time making good investment decisions going forward. Larry Clefcorn, another investment advisor here at the firm, he likes to say it this way, that people, some of the times this second group, they will live maybe irresponsibly above their means and live more lavish than maybe their income will allow them to do that. They can always find that reason to spend. So, and there may be additional things that may come up as well.
So Danny, is there a way that you as an advisor can help guide people into finding that happy medium?
It seems to be the age-old question on how to find that happy medium with do I have enough? So if you listen to any financial media on TV, or if you're just channel surfing on the radio or the internet, you'll hear somewhere along the line, you'll hear a commercial that says, how much do you have saved for retirement? Do you have enough? Well, I'm here to tell you, one of the things that my mother used to tell me as I was growing up, she'd say, son, it doesn't take age to retire, it takes money. And so no matter how much you have, if you spend more than you have, you will always be in lack. So to your point, Rick, there are things that you can do, and certainly you want to start with a budget. And sometimes a budget is not something that you do once a year, and then you put it on the shelf and you say, well, I've done that budget, I'm done. No, a budget is something that you want to revisit over and over again, because there are things that come into your spending that maybe you didn't account for before. Like,
or maybe go out even.
Well, true, absolutely. And so you always want to make sure that you have accounted for that. You know, whether your retirement dreams are 5 years away, or we're going to talk about some specific examples here. So whether your retirement dreams are 5 years away or they're 50, the greatest, there is an author out there, his name is Ed Slott. He's a nationally known writer of, he's a CPA by trade, but he's written a lot of books on tax planning. And so we're going to start talking about some of these expenses that come out of the blue at you that you may not be ready to face. And so Ed Slott, he writes this is almost a quote from his book. He says, whether your retirement dreams are 5 years away or they're 50 years away, the single greatest threat standing your way, this is Ed Slott, again, he's a CPA, he says, is taxes. So these are taxes or things that are coming at us that we don't necessarily realize how far they're going to, or how bad they're going to affect us until we get there. Unlike losses in the stock market, money lost to taxes never recovers. If I'm investing in the stock markets go up, they go down, they go up, they go down. But money lost to taxes, it never returns. It's always gone. So what are you doing for the surprise expense of taxes that when it comes to you? With untaxed retirement accounts, they're likely to be your biggest asset in retirement. You know, when I was a younger man and I was entering the workforce, I was encouraged as that younger man to save in pre-tax retirement accounts. So save, whether it's through my 401k through my employer, or whether it's through an IRA after. So whenever I did my taxes, and my tax preparer said to me, if you'll contribute to an IRA, you'll be able to save money today on the taxes that you owe, because when you retire, you'll be in a lower tax bracket then. And I always thought that was true, again, in my 20s, 30s, and 40s. But as I found out as I've continued to age, that's not necessarily true. We as a generation, we have been encouraged to save in pre-tax instruments. Save it right off the top. Save it through your paycheck, through the employer. Put it in an IRA, a traditional IRA, if you will, and you'll have less money paying taxes today. Well, that's true. That may be true today, but it also is assuming that you'll be in a lower tax bracket in the future. Ed Slott, this nationally known CPA, he doesn't necessarily agree with that you'll be in a lower tax bracket in the future. He says that any politician, again, this is Ed Slott talking, he says that any politician that will tell you that they can cut your taxes, what they're really telling you is that they're bad at math. They're telling you because we're $36 trillion in debt as a country, we're paying more than $1 trillion a year in interest. We're getting another $1 trillion a year in debt every 100 days, I believe it is. And so, again, where is this money going to come from? As a consumer, I certainly hope that they can cut taxes, but the reality is where is the money going to come from? And it's going to come from taxes. So as an investor, as a consumer, I want to make sure that I put myself in a position where the unexpected expense of taxes don't affect me at the least favorable time in my life. When I'm in my work career, I can go and I have at least some assurance if I run out of money during a particular period of time that I'm going to get another paycheck. So whether I get paid monthly or weekly or biweekly, by the time I may be running out of money during my work career, I have another paycheck coming into the household. When I'm retired, I don't necessarily have that as an option. So we want to talk about future going forward, about maybe some unexpected expenses and what you might be able to see if you can plan for how these might be able to be averted.
Thank you, Danny. Do you know the tax code by heart? Maybe you do, but do you also know the Medicare system and estate planning laws? There's too much in retirement for any one person to understand on their own, and you don't have to. All it takes is a 15-minute introductory phone call to learn if Market Advisory Group is the right team for you. Go ahead and set up that 15-minute phone call now. Just dial 833-MAG-REPORT. That's 833-624-7376. Or you can visit our website at ionretirement.com to schedule. There you can also check out past episodes where we focus on different client stories where retirement didn't go as planned. Stay tuned. In the next segment of Ion Retirement, we come back to talk to CPA Joshua Cicora about taxes. And we'll do that right after this. Hi, and welcome back into Ion Retirement. In the last segment, we were talking about taxes being a surprise expense in retirement. So now let's turn to Joshua Cicora. from Market Tax Services. Joshua, why are taxes any different in retirement than they are in the rest of your life?
Yeah, Rick, I think Danny kind of hinted about those reasons in that first segment. One, when you're retired, that paycheck isn't coming in anymore. So it's not like, well, I just depleted my nest egg, but don't worry, the next nest egg is coming in 2 weeks. Whatever you start out with in retirement, that's basically all you've got. So that's an important place where that plan comes in, which we'll circle back to here in just a minute. The other piece is that you've taken probably decades to build up this nest egg. So whatever is in there is in there. And if it's got great stuff, then you're going to be set up well for retirement. If it's stinkers, then that's probably what your nest egg is going to look like. And so it's important before you embark on that retirement journey to have that tax plan in place. And not just, like Danny was kind of saying, you figure it out once and you set it on the shelf, but a consistently reviewed and modified tax plan to make sure that as you move into retirement, you've got the pieces in place to make sure you have that great retirement, that there's not taxes taking from it there, taking from it here, depleting it. And like Danny was saying, once you lose money out on taxes, they don't ever come back. It's not like the market, which sometimes it comes back and sometimes it goes down. Taxes are just gone forever.
You know, we spend a lot of time late in the year, Joshua, with each and every one of our clients doing a meeting that's dedicated just to tax planning. A lot of people are thinking that Roth conversions are a good method of moving forward with tax planning, but I've actually been in meetings with you when now is not the time to do that. So it's not a one-size-fits-all when it comes to tax planning either.
No, my answer is usually it depends, right? It depends on what you have going on, not just in your nest egg, but in your year. Maybe this is a good year to do it, maybe it's not. Unless you look at it, and you look at it every year, you don't know when the right time is to do it.
And if you don't have an entire team working for you, you may never know when the right time is to do it.
No, it takes a team.
Danny, what are some of the other surprise expenses people might bump into retirement?
So the obvious one that comes right off the top of my head would be healthcare. So healthcare expenses are enormous. And if you think about, you may have heard somewhere in the financial media that says that there's going to be a shortfall for Social Security by the year 2032, 2033. And so if Congress doesn't fix Social Security shortfall, then everyone who's on Social Security by that date is going to have about a 20%, somewhere in there, that's what's reported right now, shortfall in their Social Security benefits. I'm here to tell you, Social Security is an easy fix. The problem is going to be Medicare. And so the health care expenses is a big thing to consider. Paying for health care during your working years may be one kind of equation or one kind of calculus, if you will, but it's a different kind of equation when you're in retirement. So whether you're below 65, excuse me, or if you're below 65, you still have to get health care from what I would call traditional sources. You're not eligible for Medicare unless there's some extenuating circumstances. You're not eligible for Medicare until you reach 65. How are you going to pay for Medicare? Or how are you going to pay for health care if you're below 65? I've ran into a lot of people in my career who have said, you know what, if it weren't for health insurance, I would be able to retire right now. I may not live on the life of luxury, and these are people who are below 65 years of age, and so they're not eligible for Medicare at that point. But they're looking for where's that health component. So health expenses are going to be a big thing. The cost of health care, if you look at what Social Security has been given for the cost of living adjustment, or the COLA for 2025, Congress does that the Social Security Administration does that every October. And last October, they announced a 2.5% raise for Social Security for the year 2025. Well, if you look at Medicare and the cost of health care, that's going up at a clip at more than 7%. And that's according to an index called the Milliman Medical Index. Go Google that, folks. It'll tell you about the healthcare expenses and how fast they're raising compared to everything else that you may be experiencing as far as groceries or electricity or utilities, those kinds of things. So let's talk about healthcare expenses.
Trey Bash, Market Medicare Advisors. What other healthcare hidden gotchas are waiting for people potentially?
Yeah, I got a quick one, but I got a big example for a lot of our viewers. Prescription drugs. Those plans need to be reviewed every year. And if you don't, you could be spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars extra on your prescription drugs because you weren't on the right plan. That review is essential in retirement. Managing your plans appropriately, making sure that they're a good fit next calendar year is what saves people those hundreds, if not thousands of dollars just from making a simple switch. There's also just the regular reviews of your Medicare supplement or Medicare Advantage plans, but those reviews we encourage people to do every year. We try and get our clients to come back in every year to talk about it to try and save them from those potential costs.
Thank you very much, Trey. When your financial advisor isn't working with your tax advisor, who isn't working with your healthcare advisor, things can get missed and create even more surprise expenses. But at Market Advisory Group, we're all working together. And to see if this could be the right team for you, all it takes is a 15-minute introductory phone call. To set up your call, 833-MAG-REPORT. You can get that visit set up by calling 833-624-7376 or check out our website at ionretirement.com. There you can also watch past episodes or submit a question for us to possibly answer in a future episode. In the next segment of Ion Retirement, we turn our attention to long-term care. Stay tuned. Hi, and welcome back into Ion Retirement. In this episode, we've been talking about surprise expenses in retirement. Alex Robinson from Eidelman Law Firm, what are some of the hidden costs associated with long-term care?
Well, Rick, there are quite a few of those. But before we get into that, I want to talk a little bit about the non-hidden costs.
Okay.
Long-term care can cost upwards of $100,000 a year if you're talking in a nursing home or a skilled nursing environment, or even if it's just paying for having a nurse full-time at your house. So $100,000 a year can be quite a shock if that's not something that you've prepped for, if you haven't talked to your financial advisor about, or you haven't budgeted for it, or if you just think, I'm never going to get sick. You know, those are the types of things that we really want people to hone in on and focus on, because that is a massive expense and one that can really end up upending your retirement plan. So if you haven't done that, I'd really tell you, take a second to talk to your financial planner and say, what do we need to do to plan for those long-term care costs? Even if you're planning for that, if you've signed a contract with a nursing facility, they might not have disclosed to you all of the different things that they can charge you for. So for example, they can charge for assistance with daily living activities. They can charge for taking you to the doctor. They can charge for assisting with your medication. And those things can add up to over $5,000 a month. We haven't seen a ton of that here in Kansas, but there's a lot of places where that's in effect. And here in Kansas, it's probably $2,000 or $3,000 if you're someone that's needing a lot of medical attention care. And so if you're not planning for those things, if you've never thought about that or even know that that's a possibility, those can really take a chunk out of your retirement assets. And so what I always tell people is the best time to think about long-term care insurance was 50 years ago when you worked for Ma Bell, and retirement plans and long-term care plans were 25 cents out of your paycheck every month. The second best time is now. So if you are thinking about getting long-term care insurance, if you haven't planned for that, you need to go talk to insurance companies now. Get a bunch of different quotes so you kind of get a feel for where it's at. Even if you're in your 60s, those might be very expensive, but they might be better than $10,000 a month. And so what we always ask people to do is plan for those things, because if you're in a situation where you don't have a ton of money, man, you're really kind of in a difficult place.
And there's also tools that can be implemented through Eidelman Law Firm, the estate planning team that we have on board, of protecting assets in the event of any kind of unforeseen event that would lead to Medicaid spend down.
Yeah, that's right. So Medicaid, if you need it, it requires you to spend down your assets to a certain level. And that can be an onerous task for you to have. And it can be something that is very unpleasant if you haven't planned for it. So we have tools that can help protect some of your assets if you need to do that. You have to have, 5 years, you need to have planned it 5 years in advance so that Medicaid doesn't look back and count that as an illegal transfer and count it as a penalty against you. And that's why we start talking about it early with people so that they can plan that ahead of time, they can get that taken care of. And now that asset, whether it's your home, money, other farmland, whatever it may be, those types of things are going to not count towards your eligibility, and they're not going to count towards what Medicaid can impose a lien on.
Trey Bash with Market Medicare Advisors. I want to touch on something real quick. Open enrollment comes and goes every year, but for people that may have supplements on their Medicaid, those are things that Market Medicare Advisors can be tweaking and adjusting for people throughout the course of the year, correct?
Mm-hmm. Medicare supplement plans are a special case where you can apply for and potentially get a new Medicare supplement plan any time of the year. The downside is you have to go through underwriting. You have to apply, wait for the private insurance company to process your application, and then it's up to them if you're going to get a new plan. But supplement plans do any time of the year. That open enrollment period, that's Medicare Advantage and prescription drug plans.
It really does take a whole team to make an effective retirement plan come into place, because if just one piece of that puzzle is missing, it's not going to be a complete picture. None of these things that we've been discussing today as far as surprises have to be surprises if you have a team that's working together to prepare you for the road ahead. Do you have a team? And if not, Market Advisory Group is here to help. If you'd like to set up a 15-minute introductory phone call with Market Advisory Group just to see if we're the right fit for you, reach out right now at 833-MAG-REPORT. That's 833-624-7376. Or do so at our website, ionretirement.com. Also, Ion Retirement is a mainstay on our new YouTube channel, Retirement Help. This new channel is a hub for retirement education with new episodes of Ion Retirement and our other weekly show, Retire Hour. But we also have a lot of other short form content there to help answer some questions that you may not have even known you had. Just search for Retirement Help on YouTube to find out just what you're missing. That's all the time we have for this episode. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Rick Everett along with the entire panel, reminding you we're here to keep an eye on retirement.
Unless otherwise indicated, all client and prospect names mentioned on this show have been changed to protect the identities of the individuals discussed. Investment advisory services are offered through Foundations Investment Advisors LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. The content provided is intended for informational and educational purposes only. The views, statements, and opinions expressed herein are those of the individual speakers and not necessarily those of Foundations and its affiliates. The information contained herein does not constitute an offer to sell any securities or represent an express or implied opinion or endorsement of any specific investment opportunity, offering, or issuer. Any discussion of performance or returns are not indicative of future results. Each individual investor situation is different, and any ideas provided may not be appropriate for your particular circumstances. Foundations only transacts business in the states where it is registered or excluded or exempt from registration requirements. Registration as an investment advisor is not an endorsement of the firm by security regulators and does not mean the advisor has achieved a specific level of skill or ability. No legal or tax advice is provided. Always consult with a tax professional. Legal services are offered by Eidelman Law Firm. Tax services offered by Market Tax Services. Market Advisory Group does not provide legal or tax advice. Any comments regarding safe and secure investments and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not in any way refer to investment advisory products. Rates and guarantees provided by insurance products and annuities are subject to the financial strength of the issuing insurance company, not guaranteed by any bank or the FDIC. The guest commentators featured in this show are not investment advisor representatives of Foundations and do not provide advisory services. Market Advisory Group does have several investment advisor representatives that can provide such services. This is not endorsed or affiliated with any U.S. government agency, the Social Security Administration, or associated with any federal Medicare program. We do not offer every plan available in your area. Any information we provide is limited to those plans we do offer in your area. Please contact Medicare.gov or 1-800-MEDICARE to get information on all of your options. A Roth conversion may not be suitable for your situation. The primary goal in converting retirement assets into a Roth IRA is to to reduce the future tax liability on the distributions you take in retirement or on the distributions of your beneficiaries. The information provided is to help you determine whether or not a Roth IRA conversion may be appropriate for your particular circumstances. Please review your retirement savings, tax, and legacy planning strategies with your legal/tax advisor to be sure a Roth IRA conversion fits into your planning strategies. All rights reserved.